Sheamus Duffy to the list, which we seem to have quite a number of centre halves, but it's just been able to see him twice in quick succession, Sunday and last night, and he's doing fine. And so obviously a couple of problems. Sheamus Coleman. That's a day by day affair, I think, as much as anything else. He came off in the Everton game, as you might be aware of, and we'll see how it goes. But we do have a couple of weeks, of course, and lots of things can happen in that time.
Okay. Any questions?
Martin, have you managed to get a handle on exactly what happened with Sheamus in that intervening period between the Georgia game and him getting injured? Was he fully over, whatever tightness was in his?
Oh, well, he was, absolutely. He was. He left us in great spirits. Obviously, had played the game, completed the match, played exceptionally well for us, really, really well. And I don't think he's constantly reminded of how important he is to us, which I think he appreciates. And he was excellent. He was in excellent spirits, and he was fine. What it was, he'd felt just a bit of tightness in the little game that we had played the previous day before he mentioned it. He didn't say much during the course of it. In fact, it would have been great if he had done. It's typical Sheamus, didn't do. And just felt a bit tight. And the next day when he tried it a little bit, he still didn't feel any better. So he thought that given a day or two out of the game, he would have been ready for the Georgia match. That was fine. If he had been fit, if he had thought he'd been fit for the Gibraltar game, I think I said this before, and continue to say, I would have played him. Cyrus Christie came in and did brilliantly in the match for us, which was great. Got a very important goal and made a great headed clearance for us. For a corner, which might have been very dangerous. But overall, yeah, Sheamus left in fine spirits.
Were you surprised at all when he went straight back in and started for Everton that weekend?
No, I wouldn't be surprised, really, because he had obviously had a couple of days, and club football, the minute that you leave international football, whether you've had a great result or a poor result, your mind totally focused then on club football, and Everton would have seen no reason not to have started him in the game. I'm sure they might have had a conversation with him, but that would have taken place during the course of the week leading up to his game against Chelsea, and secondly at the time that why he didn't play against Gibraltar.
Was there any communication between you and Everton and Martin, or?
No, the communication was all was done through the physiotherapist.
He actually handled Diego Costa pretty well last weekend as well. It was pretty impressive, some of his challenges on.
He's listen. He really, he's a fine performer for us. You know, he's done really well. Obviously at club level, there was talk about possibility of him moving, and to some very, very big clubs. Not for 1 minute am I not saying that Everton's a big club, which it is. But he was in the limelight there for a little while, and he's great attitude. Was very disappointed not to have made the Gibraltar game, and I'm sure he'll do everything in his power to try and be fit for this Germany game.
We've heard say he might get forward, like he seems to attack more with Everton than he would with Ireland. Is that just down to the way you like him to play?
No. It's to do. I think that, I mean, if you're playing, let's say, on the 38 game season that you manage to play 30 games at club level, you fall into a pattern of football, and you'll know what you're doing every single week. You're playing with the same players. You're playing, and you have a system there that you play in. And while our system is not that far removed from Everton's, to be perfectly honest. Actually, it's quite similar. No, it is. He gets forward because for Everton, I think he attempts to do exactly the same for us. But once or twice, maybe he'll pull back and lay it back. Whereas maybe with Everton, he might have gone forward, knowing exactly the picture in front of him. But no, I think that's more to do with just the difference between playing at club level every single week and playing, well, less off on the international level. But I don't think our systems are that far removed, honestly.
Just wondered, Darren Randolph is obviously
Mhm.
having a good run with West Ham.
Yeah.
Does it push him up the pecking order at all?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Great to see him doing very, very well. Sheamus McDonough, my coach, went to see him in I think all the games that he was going to be playing for in the 3 lead-up matches anyway, which was great. He has done very well. Then on Monday night, did very well again. Very much so, very much so. And I know it's the old question about players playing regularly in the side. Shea is not in the first team, and eventually, that of course that can cause a bit of a problem. You would like as many of your players playing at first team level, So yeah, very much so. Randolph has an easy manner about himself, a bit laid back, I think, but no, taking things in his stride and certainly pushing now. Nothing I'm picking West Ham's team at all, far from it. But he's certainly given food for thought.
But because these 2 games are so high profile, so crucial to qualifying, starting in either game is probably out of question.
You definitely have a point. Yeah, that's it's where it would be. What I think now would be if it would be much less of a risk now that he's gone and playing competitive football at a very high level, which is great at club level at this moment. And if stepped upon or needed, if needed, if he had to step up, then it would certainly be less of a problem.
Martin, we were sort of given an impression that Jack Grealish might decide his international future by next month. But I suppose this is the squad for next month. I'm just wondering, have you any update for us?
I don't have any update for you. No, I'm inclined to think the same myself. I thought that he was going to make a decision, but again, I don't have any update with you or for you. I think that essentially the same thing applies. Just let himself and his father make that decision, and whatever decision he comes to, we'll have to abide by.
There's been no communications.
I had spoken the last time, and I haven't spoken to him since. I think he just wanted to try and get over the niggling injury at the time, try and force his way into Aston Villa's side, which he has done. And but yeah, I think that Roy had said something that he thought that, or he wanted him to make his mind up sooner rather than later.
Is it something that you're likely to put a deadline on, considering everything that's going on, and considering Roy seems to be getting a little bit impatient with England as well?
That who? Well, I think for me to start putting deadlines on, sometimes maybe your view might change. Remember, I have to think about really about what is probably best for Ireland over the next 10 or 12 years. And if that's a decision that he comes, no point in me trying to be selfish and say, well, this is it. It might be a case of him making a decision in the next couple of weeks, and we have to live with that one way or the other. But no, I think for the long-term future of the Republic of Ireland, I'm not so sure sticking deadlines would be. If I was at club level, it might be a different issue.
Mark, you mentioned players getting regular first team football. Aidan McGeady, I know he's been injured, but it looks like he's going to be behind the likes of Naismith and Delafeu at Everton. Is he going to get any game time for all players? And if he doesn't, we should be able to fit him.
Well, okay. First of all, he would definitely get into our squad because of his ability. I don't want to turn around and be agreeing with every point that anybody makes here, but you have a very decent point. I did say to him that in fact, I hope the next question is, I hope I'm downright totally disagreeing with, but I said to him before just after the Georgia game, how was he fixed in terms of matches? Was there a possibility of maybe even going out on loan, which I think was a suggestion at one time before transfer deadline? And Aidan is an important player to us, even in a short burst. So And again, it's getting back to the point. I'd like him to get some game time, but I cannot force anything through at club level, and it's only a case of maybe waiting and seeing. But I think for us, I think that he is definitely someone who looks better and sharper for some match practice. Right, when he played this time last year, he had a good pre-season, and he was fully fit and wound up. Here he has missed a lot of pre-season. He's just back fit now, physically fit in that sense, But I probably would say himself a good deal away from match fit. But still would be important to us, even maybe for a little cameo role if that's the case. But I couldn't dismiss him for what he has done for us in the campaign. But I think for his own peace of mind, I think he either has to try and break through in the Everton side, which is not going to be easy, or consider alternatives.
Just in terms of wide players in the Germany game, because obviously James McLean is suspended as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know Jeff played out wide and obviously set up the winner against Georgia, so there'd be no problem playing him out there again.
No, he didn't. Well, he didn't. He picked the ball up wide, but he didn't. He didn't. He was one of three midfield players. I do think that if he was asked to play wide left-hand side and start out there, I think that would be a problem, because that's not really his position, and I don't think he's played often enough to be able to go out there and feel that he would do himself justice. Sorry.
Just the performance away to Germany, Martin. Obviously, you get a draw out there, and the team show great character to get that late equaliser. But do you think the team now, a year on, is a better team? Has the team improved? And because of that, then, do you think you're confident that you can get a result against them?
Well, the two games that we've left are naturally very difficult. But we have put ourselves into a position now that we're going to try and we have to win a game. We have to win a match to get into the playoffs for a start. And Germany have come to the fore, which we always thought they would do, that they would come and take this group no matter about hiccups along the way. Germany would consider that a hiccup, whereas it was a real battling performance by us. But I think if you look at the side, I think there have been a few changes from that night. I remember David Myler having to go in and play at full back, and so we had a couple of players missing in the game, and so it was a really terrific effort by us. We're at home. We have to try and force the pace, if that's at all possible, in the game. And Germany will come and probably play their normal, natural game. And we have to try and be ready for everything, and try and not only cope with them, but obviously make something happen ourselves. As for us being better than we were then, I think that, you know what, long and the short of it, doesn't really matter what I say or what I think about it. It's nearly always determined by results.
I know Roy was over to watch Barnsley recently.
Yeah.
Has there been any conversations about Daniel Crowley and whether or not he might represent Ireland in the...
Yeah, I spoke to his father, and we had a very civil conversation. He's a very, very pleasant man, and we would have a real genuine interest in that. I think the young lad has really decent ability. Not only was that game against Everton did he play well, although he didn't play last week. We've followed it up, and things are. We'd like to try and progress that if it's at all possible.
Do you get the sense that there's genuine interest from Daniel's side as well?
I think there's a genuine goodwill about it, the situation. But then again, I said that I thought that the meeting with Jack and his father was really fine. Whether that's good enough to make someone make up their mind about something or other, it's another issue. But it was a very civil conversation.
I presume on Daniel's case, the idea would be to maybe introduce him on the 21 level first rather than try to progress him straight to senior level.
I think that he certainly looks as if he possesses the ability to go on and be a really decent player. He is. It looks as if he wants to demand the ball as well, which is great in someone so young, and he looks to have a decent future. But yeah, I think you're probably right.
Martin, have you?
Association
Sorry?
football briefly, and given your own background in the GA, do you have any opinion as to who might come out on top on Sunday?
On Sunday, well, personally, I don't want any of the two teams to win. No Ulster side in it, so no, it's not true. I think it'll obviously be a really great game. Dublin did well to beat a resurgent Mayo in the second game, and perhaps maybe you'd have thought at one stage that maybe Mayo might have had the upper hand in the game. Kerry are just always strong, and I went to the All Ireland final a few years ago with those two teams playing in it. So if it's anything like that, it's the one that Kerry threw away, wasn't it? Yeah. I'll not tell you I was cheering on that day, but they lost. Sorry?
None of those players you fancy in this international squad yourself, really?
No, I thought you'd for those lads.
If to a soccer man.
If any one of them, absolutely. Strong lads, totally different game to the one I played away back 40 years ago. But really good. Went to the hurling game, and couldn't see the ball. So but it was, great game. Pitched 160 odd yards long, and I was down behind one of the goals. So I just had to wait to see whether the crowd were cheering behind that goal to know whether it went over the bar or not. But yeah, good game, and Kilkenny were outstanding in the second half.
Are you going to be able to go to the All Ireland on Sunday, or would you like to go, or are you busy doing work ahead of your own games?
Pardon?
Or are you busy doing work ahead of your own games?
I've got some games. I was I went down to. I went last night. It was Sunday, and then I went to Cardiff on Tuesday night just to see Pilkington play, and wee boy Mason as well too. I just have a little look, and funnily enough, Roy got some tickets to go to the All Blacks versus Argentina at Wembley on Sunday. And I said yes before I'd forgotten about the All Ireland being the same day, which I'd genuinely, even though I'm joking you about the things, I would genuinely love to have gone to the game. But since it's on TV now, I'll have the iPad with me, So, still be cheering on Kerry. But
Just in terms of
I won't be actually, because I'm actually quite friendly with young Bernard Brogan. So, he came out to our hotel the other night, so I've a distinct interest in his performance. Pardon? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, let me put it this way: if there's an Ulster team in it, I'd have been cheering on.
in terms of
I personally hope both teams kill each other. Which is a fairly decent chance of it happening as well. If the Mayo game is anything to go by.
that you've been cheering on, Martin, have you thought about Poland and their trip to Scotland much? Because it will have an impact on what we do in our group. And I know you have to be careful what you wish for, but
I think that
to win that game.
I think that if you're I think it's very, very people say that you concentrate in your own game, and you genuinely, obviously have to. But I think, of course, anybody tells you that's not in the back of your mind, that something else might be happening there. I suppose at this minute, we have to try and win a game against, two difficult opponents. Germany, the world champions at home, and Poland away a couple of days later. Poland are vying. Poland will be thinking strongly, regardless of the result in Scotland, that they can win and then qualify automatically for France. And I'd obviously be trying to keep an eye on the game, but I think that I think if somebody was asking me, would you take your chance in the playoffs? I think you would. I think at this minute you would have to, considering the games that we have to play.
You take a Poland win then, right now.
Would I take a Poland win right now? I would take my chance in the playoffs.
All right. Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
We'll do the print in next.